Hey y'all, it's Danielle from Black Business Boom and Black Owned Nashville, and we are live with our expert in all things nonprofit, Cathy Anderson. How are you, Cathy?
I am doing well. Thanks for asking. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic. I'm happy to have you. And excuse the background noise. I just told Cathy every time I go live, the man wants to come and cut the grass. So you have to bear with me today. But we're going to be talking about nonprofits, starting your nonprofit, some things that you need to make sure you're doing and you understand if you're looking to start a nonprofit. And if you already have a nonprofit, and you're looking for things that you can do better to be able to scale and grow your nonprofit, you need to tune in, tag somebody if they've been talking about their nonprofit and tell them to hop on over here and tune in for Cathy as well. Cathy, let's
Yes.
hop into it. I know we've covered this quite a few times in the past, but I want to know what folks need to be considering when they are deciding to start a nonprofit. When they're like, I just want to help people, I really want to, start this nonprofit. It is a business, and
It is a
there are a
business.
lot of things that you need to consider. So let's hop into it. What can you tell us that we need to be focused on if we're wanting to start a
Mhm.
nonprofit?
Mhm. I like to start with the shocker. The shocker is why, and making sure that you actually know the need and what's in your community already. Number
Mm.
one shocker. No matter where you are in this nonprofit, if you're a startup or you've already started it, you really have to know what is already there. It's just like business. You have to run it like a business. And I do remind people, think twice, because you do not own it. It is a
So
public charity.
that, yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of people really get confused that a
You do.
nonprofit really is a business. But then also, if you're trying to, so that, just to be transparent, is one of the reasons why Black Business Boom is not a nonprofit. While we're a social enterprise, we
Mhm.
lead with our mission, but I plan to exit at some point.
Mhm.
And so, if it's like you really have to understand the impact you're trying to make, but also long term, what are your goals for yourself and your business? So if
Yep.
you're looking to sell that thing and exit, a nonprofit is not going to be the best move for you. And
Mhm.
then, like you said, looking at the landscape, and one thing that I encourage people to do is like figure out if there's already someone out there doing it. Can you join their board? Like, can you support their mission? Because I see a lot of folks doing the
Right.
same type
Right.
of nonprofits. Which, I mean, we need plenty of help, but but still, when you have a team of people driving toward the goal, it's
Yes.
so much easier.
Yes, yes. And I guess it's that same conversation as we have in business too, just understanding you're not an island and that, if you're not able to, and this is where it sounds ugly sometimes, but when you're not able to lead and bring people in to your culture that you set, then maybe, I've had to say that hard thing of get that education. We should be doing personal development all the time. There are books and books and way more books that talk about how to get people to lead. I mean, how do you lead? That is very critical because a board you have to have an operating board, you have to have a working board, especially
So
when you're
what's the
new.
first step? Because I know you gotta have a board, you gotta get the 501(c)(3), you gotta,
Hmm.
do all the state paperwork. What's the very first thing after you are like, okay, it's happening, I want to do this.
Hmm.
Where do I go from here? What's the very
Okay.
first step that you suggest I take?
I mean, and we're actually just talking about the filing process. Of course, the EIN number and then your Secretary of State, depending upon where you live, because I know this video might go out. Sometimes it's the Attorney General, but wherever you have to file your businesses, that's where you're filing for the state. And then, of course, there's the IRS, and that's the one that determines that you are a 501(c)(3). The state is only part of the process. So I'm saying that because some people stop there and think they're a nonprofit. So once you get that determination letter that says that you can now raise that money and you're legitimate, I will say there's about 40 states, and Tennessee is included, where now you have to register for what's called Charitable Solicitations Act. And that's really important. I won't go deep into that, but just making sure that whoever's soliciting and raising funds, because there's been a lot of fraud over the years, there's a law that has been passed. So even if you hire a fundraiser or anybody like that, you want to make sure you register them in the system, and that has to be done annually, just like your state filing.
Oh my, yes, a lot of stuff. That's another reason
Yeah,
why Black
I've
Business
learned.
Boom is not a nonprofit, because it's just so much
It is.
that you
It
gotta
is.
do, so much
It is.
reporting, so much that you have to know and keep on top
Mhm.
of. Versus your regular business, you go just file your LLC, get your bookkeeping together, and you really,
Right.
you're good to go. So we got our EIN, we've
Got to
registered
know.
with the state, we've
Mhm.
got the IRS determination letter for the 501c3.
Mhm.
Now we got to raise some money, right?
Raise some
Because
money.
these programs don't run
And
themselves.
can we go back to what you just said? We have to raise some money, not go get a grant.
So yeah, and I mean, the last 3 years, I think we've seen so many grants, and everybody's a grant
Mhm.
guru and all that. That's what we consider like the next step. Like, oh, I'm gonna go get a grant,
Right.
and those grants are very competitive.
Yeah.
Um, and so the nonprofits that I know of that are doing well, whether they are local or national, is because they have strong fundraising efforts. But many of us don't know where to start with that.
Yeah.
So, what tips can you give us if we're like gearing up to start fundraising that we need to keep in mind?
Okay. Um, Number one, and I'm going to say this because we're in the culture, right? And events don't count, you guys. They do not count. We're doing too many events that are for the community. But at the same time, if you choose to do them, there should be another side part where you're raising funds. That's when you go into corporate. For every single major corporation, wherever you buy products, you look on their website or you Google it, and there is a community give back.
Mm,
Your banks. So we say they're competitive, but believe it or not, because so many people are saying that, a lot of people are not applying. They're not. And I'm
mm,
hearing that. And I'm seeing a lot of grants go back out because you can't just apply just for your staff. And that's usually where you're heavy in or you're
yeah.
wanting staff. And so even for myself, I just a lot of times just give people resources. There's so many resources that are out here for free or for a low cost. But again, you have to be able to manage, really leading, because you have to not encourage or motivate others to utilize their resources too. So if you have 5 board members, everybody should one either give or raise that amount of money. And sometimes if everybody did like say $1,000, that will hold off for at least 3 to 4 programs.
Yeah, yeah. I was shocked when I joined my first nonprofit board that there was like a give get situation. You
Hmm.
either got to give it or you got to go get it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know that was part of it. I was just trying to help
Yep.
the mission, but that's why it's so important that you're building a board of people who really understand the mission
Yeah.
and aren't scared to go ask for the money.
Right.
And even as a leader, you got to get over that fear and that hurdle of not wanting to ask for the money. And I know
Right.
that's a struggle for a lot of us, myself included, when it comes to like, I got to go out here and ask somebody to cut a check. Like, but the one of the greatest things somebody told me about that was it's not for you, it's for the
I
mission.
always
So
say
it's
that.
not like you going out and asking them to cut Danielle a check. You're asking
Right.
them to support the mission. So
And that's what you have
um,
to keep in your head.
I
It's
think a
for.
lot of times we get ahead of ourselves as well, and we
Mhm.
haven't defined that mission well enough for
Yes.
us to be able to communicate it in a way that allows people to understand well enough to even want to cut the check.
Yes.
So I think that's an important part, just some of the basics in defining your mission and vision and
Mhm.
values of the
Mhm.
organization that we skip. Cathy, let me ask you this. When it comes to like your online presence as a
Mhm.
nonprofit, when you're going out and applying for grants or looking for sponsors, how important do you feel like that is? Are they going to look for your website? Are they looking at your social media, all that?
Mhm. Just like we Google, they Google because you're representing their brand too. So it's important to them to look at everything. And I just did a Facebook Live with another gentleman. We really got on that, your personal page, your business page, anything that you think you would not want to tell, we'll say someone you work for, um, then it should not be on there. Because all you do is Google and all your pages will come up. And I wouldn't even trust the private.
Yeah, we be thinking it's private, but all they need is a mutual friend to go look at your page. So,
And
yeah,
don't let the friend get mad at you. It's done. I mean, that's just a fact. No, we tell children that, but that's a fact. So we want to present ourselves. And then I tell people, you just never know who you're around. So when you're I talk about getting in the room a lot of times. And when I say getting in the room, I'm saying that there's a lot of things even in our city of Nashville that we take it for granted. You know what I
mhm.
mean? I was just telling you, the Chamber of Commerce were together. Well, two of them, the mayor's office. If I hadn't spoke up, I wouldn't have this other lady that said, "Oh, you said that very well." And
Yeah,
then she gives me her card. She's like, "I would love for you to come by." Well, what's crazy now that I'm on here is I had just gone down Buchanan and took a picture of a sign where they were building, and it said hiring on site.
mm,
Well, I found out that she was director of that nonprofit where they're building housing, but they already have a building over there by Germantown Pub. So I'm just saying we overcomplicate because I think I'm one of the biggest introverts. I'm quiet, but usually if you're there, the first thing people ask you is, "What do you do?"
yeah.
And you never know. And when you give them a card or you tell them about you, what are they going to do? They're going to go online and check it out.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important. The networking aspect is so important. And
Hmm.
again, I understand how hard that is because believe it or not, I'm an introvert myself,
Hmm.
unless I'm having cocktails. And so, it's since you can't typically drink during the
Right.
day, during the week, I know that makes it a little hard to just put yourself out there and meet people. But again, if you just get
Yeah.
in the room a lot of
That's it.
times, things will
That's it.
fall into place. People will ask you what they do, what you do. They'll ask for a card. They'll ask for more information. And like
Well,
you said, you want to make sure that when they go and Google you, when they get to the car,
yeah,
that your presence looks
yeah,
good and
yeah,
makes them want to dive even deeper into learning about the impact that you're trying to make with your organization. So
yeah.
there's so much power in just showing up for yourself and
It
showing up
is.
in these rooms. In
Yeah.
Nashville, you don't have a choice. Like
But
if
you
you
know
really
what?
are trying to make something happen, you
And I
got to
tell
show up.
everybody, but you know what? At some point, we have to take accountability that if you have children, if you go to school here, if you work here, whatever you do, the rooms that I go to are public rooms that we living here should be in because we live here. I'm not talking about anything special or special gala or anything like that. I'm just saying that council meeting, not even the community meeting. You should know what's going on in your community because even as a nonprofit, how are you solving a problem if you haven't been in those conversations to know what's coming down the pipe?
Yeah,
You got to know that. So
I
yeah,
like it. Yeah, I mean, and also to get the money.
I
So
mean that's
to know when
look.
the money is coming and to be able to get the money.
This is what stays in my head. And I remember I had a friend that would always say this: if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. So when I'm walking in there, I'm already saying, I need that connection, whatever it is. And usually it's going to come from where you wouldn't expect. But it's amazing because, again, you're fighting about your community. I'm just trying to fight and make sure I get the laws passed that I think should pass or they hear our voice in the community. That's all I'm doing. But that's how that
Yeah.
connection, they know you exist, so that money follows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This has been great, Cathy. A lot of great information here.
Yeah.
Tell folks how they can reach out to you because you do work with folks one on one and help
I
support the
do.
growth of their organizations or if they're starting an organization. So tell folks what's the best way for them to contact you.
I give that first call for free, you guys. They keep telling me stop doing that, but you know what? The first one, I'll catch you on that first one, and I think give you enough information. But nonprofit help needed is the on .com is the best way to book an appointment with me. But other than that, if you DM, I'm gonna get it. Be aware and empower, all spelled out. .com is my website. I'm on Instagram. I try to do that Miss Cathy Leeds because I earned that little Miss Cathy a long time ago from being sarcastic. So now I'm old and it sticks with me. So you can find me anywhere, even on LinkedIn, and I'll answer back.
Fantastic. Thank you so much,
Thank
Cathy. I
you.
greatly
My
appreciate
pleasure.
you always offering amazing information for the community. And I'll be in touch. I'm super
Okay, looking
excited to
forward
work
to
with
it.
you. Make sure you all go and check out
Yes.
nonprofithelpneeded.com. Connect with Cathy. She's here to support you starting and growing your nonprofit organization. Thank
Thank
you again, Cathy. Greatly
thank
appreciate
you.